So, I'm talking about Sacred Text of the World still. And we're having kale juice this morning. Yum.
This is the kale juice here.
Yeah, you gotta drink it. Drink the kale.
Yeah, I know. Well, I won't be able to drink all of it. This is a big glass. So. You said there was some probiotics.
Inside.
Inside.
There's kale or
Sauerkraut.
sauerkraut on your plate.
I just didn't want to overlook it.
I'm just taking a probiotic myself, the pill. It's the same, I give the dogs these pills too. Because we eat a lot of these pulp nuggets. And a lot of vegetable fiber in general. So, and this was James's, the remnants of his dinner from yesterday. He does not like eating salad. I shouldn't bother giving it to you.
It's my stomach. Right?
Okay, well, I shouldn't give it to you.
Well, I've just, did you have vinegar on it?
No, I didn't put any on it because I knew you complained about it the last time. So I just put the
olive oil. You were asking why I kind of leave it, so it's very, very hard on my...
Well, I only put olive oil on it this time.
Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah, well, anyway. So, when I left off, I was talking about the Gospel of Thomas. And Didache? How do you pronounce it again?
Didache or Didache.
Okay. So, anyway, I'm reading now from page 203. It's selections from the Gospel of Thomas, and I figured, why write this out if I can just read this? So, these are the secret sayings which the living Jesus spoke and which Didymus, Judas, Thomas wrote down. 1. And he said, whoever finds the interpretation of these sayings will not experience death. 2. Jesus said, let him who seeks continue seeking until he finds. When he finds, he will become troubled. When he becomes troubled, he will be astonished, and he will rule over the all. 3. Jesus said, if those who lead you say to you, see, the kingdom is in the sky, then the birds of the sky will precede you. If they say to you, it is in the sea, then the fish will precede you. Rather than kingdom is inside of you, and it is outside of you. When you come to know yourselves, then you will become known, and you will realize that it is you who are the sons of the living Father. But if you will not know yourselves, you will dwell in poverty, and it is you who are that poverty. And those last 3 were Lambden translations. Because, keep in mind, this was not written in English originally. 19, Jesus said, blessed is that which existed before coming into being. If you exist as my disciples and listen to my sayings, these stones will minister unto you. Indeed, you have 5 trees in paradise, which do not move in summer or winter, and whose leaves do not fall. Whoever is acquainted with them will not taste death. 75, Jesus said, there are many standing at the door, but it is the solitaries who will enter the bridal chamber. 77, Jesus said, it is I who am the light upon them all. It is I who am the all. It is from me that the all has come, and to me that the all has extended. Split a piece of wood, and I am there. Lift up a stone, and you will find me there. And this is an Ehrman translation. And this next one and the 2 previous are Leighton translations. 98, Jesus said, what the kingdom of the Father resembles is a man who wanted to assassinate a member of court. At home, he drew the dagger and stabbed it into the wall in order to know whether his hand would be firm. Next, he murdered the member of the court. 114. This is another Ehrman translation. Simon Peter said to them, Mary should leave us, for females are not worthy of the life. Jesus said, Look, I'm going to guide her in order to make her male, so that she too may become a living spirit resembling you males. For every female who makes herself male will enter the kingdom of heaven.
You don't know exactly what that means, then. But anyway.
I have my own interpretations. Anyway, lecture 29. We're on to Mormon scriptures. Oh, I forgot to mention that the Didache even provides tests for false prophets. You've probably heard this before. If they stay with you for more than 3 days, or if they ask for money, beware. So, lecture 29, on to Mormon scriptures. At age 17, Moroni, who was an angel, appeared to Joseph Smith and told him about a record of the ancient inhabitants of the Americas that was written on thin metal sheets and buried in a hill not far from his house. Moroni came a couple more times that night, and then once more the next day. A stone box in the hill. Joseph unburied this. He says after Moroni told him about it and all this. Anyway, a stone box in the hill contained the gold plates and a decoding device called the interpreters, 2 seer stones set in an eyeglasses type frame. And the lecturer says seer stones were common in folk religion around New York at the time. So this is not something that Joseph Smith just came up with. It was
his mom and he actually, before he came up with Mormonism, I don't think Mormon actually existed. They were looking at a crystal ball, which is these seer stones. They greatly went crystal and stuff. It's the same basic thing. So it was even his mom.
I overcooked my nuggets. Sorry about that.
That would be plenty fine. They look great.
They just require a little more chewing than I would like.
Well, there you go. Sounds like fun.
Yeah. Anyway.
I could always soak them in water and change. No, really. It's,
they could become soup things.
Like crusty bread that hasn't gone moldy. Sometimes
They're like croutons.
All you do is you just you don't soak them in water. You just
I was thinking of making a wonderful what do you call it? Leek soup, because we were given a bunch of leeks.
A ton of them. Not a ton.
Well,
yeah, lots and lots.
However many I thought I could have taken more, but I can't possibly process that much. You know, I've been depressed. I could. If I wasn't depressed, I could be making more soups and stuff and store. But you know, this is enough for me to be making the nuggets right now.
Plus, we tend to believe in leaving stuff for other people.
Yeah.
The only thing that we take in unlimited quantities, because it's just
kale.
piled on our lap, because no one
else wants it.
No, which is insane.
It's so healthy.
Stuff's for free. But honest to God, it's just like, here's more, and more, right?
I know. They're very good to us that way, because otherwise I think they see that it just gets thrown.
It just gets chopped up.
Yeah. So anyway, back to the plates. Seer stones. Anyway, Joseph later used the biblical term Urim and Thummim to refer to the seer stones. When Joseph tried to remove the plates from the stone box, the angel reappeared and told him that the time was not right. Returned to the hill the next year. So Joseph did
make this to a movie, though.
Well, he was saying, the lecturer was saying that they made a Broadway play about it. Seriously.
It should be a musical. Broadway musical. Moroni
maybe it is.
Under the
stage. Anyway, so Joseph returned, and the angel kept sending him away, recalling him back, until their fourth meeting, 1827, Joseph was allowed to take the plates out and begin translating. He had just recently married Emma Hell, who accompanied him to the hill, apparently. So, honestly, maybe the angel required Emma, not Joseph.
Just say.
He wasn't good enough until that point.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Joseph would put the seer stones interpreter with message inside a hat to exclude the light, and then he would put his head in the hat, and he would read the messages as they appeared to him aloud. Emma was Joseph's first scribe. His second was a wealthier neighbor.
Not his last, you know.
No.
This guy liked the women. Well, lusted them? Like? Who knows?
I didn't say like, yeah.
No.
Anyway, I shouldn't have added that opinion of Joseph Smith. His second was a wealthier neighbor named Martin Harris. A manuscript of 116 pages was written, which Harris then lost when he took it home to his skeptical wife.
I think she burned it.
Well, it's never been found.
Well, there you go.
The lecturer said it was presumed stolen and
Who
never
noticed?
recovered.
The wife burned it. She didn't want her husband to be in the thrall of this bozo.
Yeah, he's like, he just wants your money, you moron.
And that's, you moron.
Anyway, Oliver Cowdery came to the Smiths' home and became Joseph's principal scribe. They published the Book of Mormon. An angel came and took back the gold plates. But some of Joseph's pals said they'd seen the plates while they were in Joseph's possession. The Sikadi Grant is the most popular new scripture, and the Book of Mormon is the second most popular of the past few centuries. The Book of Mormon preceded a religious movement rather than resulting from one. 15 million members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
It's almost as many Jews as are in the world.
I'm going to get to that. Muslims regard the Quran as a replacement for Jewish and Christian scriptures that have been corrupted and misunderstood over time. By
Not
contrast,
corrupted. The actual wording, at least the English translation, is they are lies. They are manufactured lies. So he's covering up there.
Yeah. By contrast, Mahayana Buddhists simply added new sacred texts to the canon. Christians just adopted the Hebrew scriptures as their own, while reinterpreting along distinctly Christian lines. Mormons add the Book of Mormon to the Bible. Mormon scriptures, Book of Mormon, Doctrine of Covenants, those are revelations given directly to Joseph Smith. The Pearl of Great Price, which was first a missionary pamphlet, it includes the Book of Abraham, named by Joseph Smith, was a translated piece of papyrus, Egyptian, which came into Joseph's possession.
That one's hilarious. It's
Yeah.
actually been translated.
Yeah. The surviving papyrus turned out to be a surviving copy of the Book of Wreathing, a funerary text from the Egyptian Book of the Dead.
No.
So it had nothing to do with what Joseph claimed it was. So I don't know if Moroni's given him some bad translations or what. Or if Joseph Smith was just a liar. It's hard to know which one it is, but
Yeah,
it's,
Moroni didn't do his
I don't
homework.
know. Joseph Smith was assassinated in 1844, and the Mormons headed for Utah under the leadership of Brigham Young. The church officially ended polygamy in 1890. That's the Latter-day Saints.
I didn't know.
No. And
In two different ways. The whole idea is if the secular authority in the United States changes so polygamy is allowed, then they'll go back to it.
well, I've met a lot of people who have told me that they are, and that they have multiple wives.
There you go.
So, and this was even in as far up as Grand Prairie. So it exists. It's not a myth or something, and they're not
Plus, there are spin-offs that very much practice. They're in the news now.
yeah.
They're also on TV.
But
cable
the people who are more sensible about it are keeping it under wraps, honestly, until it's looked on more favorably. But it still exists. So, and I'm not going to comment on whether I think it's wrong or right. You know, I think I might want a few Mormon wives. I might take them from some Mormon husbands who don't treat them well. I think I might have a whole bunch of them, and we'll just live together and work hard, and not have to give our labors to some stupid man. Anyway, they rescinded the priesthood ban for black members in 1978.
Wow.
Latter-day Saints actually have 5
Pretty
scriptures.
late. That's in my lifetime. 5
I know,
years before
very
you were
late.
born.
Yes.
That's just not membership. It's just the priesthood.
Yeah.
Blacks weren't allowed. So.
Yeah. Temple ceremony. Hindu Brahmin resisted putting the Vedas into written form for a very long time. It was important for the Vedas to be internalized through memorization. Text of the endowment ceremony is Brigham Young's addition to Mormonism. The words are so sacred that they cannot be discussed outside the temple. Lehi, Jewish prophet, 600 BCE, was warned to take his family and flee from Jerusalem before the Babylonian conquest.
Did you say 587? 586?
600.
Oh, it's around there. Okay.
Okay. They wandered the desert for 8 years, built a boat, and sailed to America. Lehi and his son Nephi received divine revelations and were told about Jesus Christ, who'd someday be born in Israel and atone for the sins of the world. Those who accepted this doctrine became the Nephites. The unbelieving relatives were called Lamanites. Another group, Amalekites, also emigrated from Jerusalem. That group had a member of the royal house of David with them. Resurrected Jesus hangs out with some faithful Nephites in America. He heals sick and blesses kids, and teaches a version of the Sermon on the Mount, and makes some prophecies. And so that explains why the book of, why the Mormons seem to be preaching something that looks like Christianity, or bastardization, more accurately, of Christianity, because apparently Jesus came and hung out with them in the New World. So, anyway, then the Nephites are destroyed by the Lamanites in 400 CE, and the Christian traditions of the New World are lost, aside
Those
from
bad
this
Lamanites.
single record. Yeah, do you want to talk
They are
about
the
that?
predecessors of natives, eh?
Yes,
Indigenous people.
yes.
They killed off these God-fearing, God-worshipping Nephites.
Who there's no proof of ever existed. So, anyway, the Christian tradition of the New World are lost, aside from this single record buried by the last of the Nephites, the prophet Moroni, who would later appear to Joe as an angel. There has been no archaeological evidence or artifacts from this New World that support Joe's tale. Mormons believe angels are a kind of resurrected human being. Islam and Scriptural Recitation, Lecture 30. In 1352, Ibn Battuta, thank you, Moroccan native, went to Mali. Ibn Battuta was trained as a judge in Muslim law and was impressed by the eagerness of his fellow Muslims in Mali to memorize the Quran. Apparently, Muslims in Mali really went the extra mile. They'd put their children in chains until they memorized the Quran. Islam, which began in the 7th century of the Common Era, is one of the world's great missionary religions, along with Buddhism and Christianity, spreading far beyond the land of its origins. Today, Islam is the second largest religion on the planet.
That they don't have missionaries.
That's why I quoted that word for word. So this is
they
what
boast
his
about not having missionaries. So I'm sure there are exceptions, but what I've run across is pretty well unanimous. I haven't read anything where near all the sources, but this is like modern times. They're talking about how we don't need missionaries. So there we go. So this guy is,
so
I don't
there's
know.
1.6 billion followers. Christianity currently has 2 billion. There are 1 billion Hindus, 500 million Buddhists, 28 million Sikhs, 14 million under Judaism, and 4 million Jains.
How many Jews?
14 million.
Okay, you said 18 million somewhere else. Or
me?
someone else had. No, you didn't.
I don't know. Anyway.
Someone else. I was reading it somewhere else.
Word of God presented to Muhammad in Arabic, so Muslims are supposed to learn the word in that form. It began in Arabia, but only 18% of Muslims today are Arabs. Indonesia has the most Muslims: Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Egypt, Nigeria, Iran, and then Turkey, in that order. And he said native.
Okay, which is?
I'm gonna read this out, and then I want you to comment on it.
Okay.
So I just pointed out that he said native, and I'm just going to read this. They only speak Arabic as their native language in Egypt. Do you want to comment on that?
I got no problem with that.
You have no problem.
Native language is just the term that's used, right? He's not using it like natives or whatever.
Okay, but is Arabic a native language of Egypt?
It actually is.
No, it isn't.
So you were smarter than me on this one. Yep.
Yes.
Pauline is a very good listener.
I'm
Better
a very
listener
good
than
listener.
I am. And I'm a good listener, but I just don't pick things up. I think it's the way my brain is wired and stuff like that. But, you know, like I don't fall asleep in classes and I take notes. It's just I don't take notes as well as Pauline does. And, that's the way it goes. I'm proud of Pauline. Anyway. The native language of Egypt is not Arabic. I've studied the native language of Egypt. I've studied Middle Egyptian hieroglyphs, and that language still exists in transmogrified form, or transmuted form, probably a better way to put it, in the Greek alphabet, not the Arabic alphabet, and it's called Coptic. And I've studied a little bit of that language too. I've also studied a little bit of Arabic as well, Jordanian Arabic, and officially Jordanian Arabic and standard modern Arabic. And they're kind of related in a large language called Hamido-Semitic languages, but they're not anything near mutually intelligible. So the natives of Egypt, they don't really speak Coptic, but they use it in their religious ceremonies, as it were. And what religion is I'm just faking it. I don't know. It's Christian. The natives of Egypt, the ones that are true natives, are Christians. Wake up and smell the coffee. And this guy got it wrong. Yeah, he's putting out a pretty good series, but the deal is he's covering things up, or he hasn't done his homework entirely. There's a lot of cover up here with several religions. But yeah.
Okay. The word Quran means recitation. 114 chapters, surahs, divided into 6,200 verses, totaling 78,000 words. Quran.
Okay, let's stop here.
Okay.
It's surah is translated as chapter, but that's a bad translation. The Quran is arranged from longest to shortest surah. Well, the longest ones are not the length of chapters, let's say in the Bible. They're as long as whole books. Some of them are longer than books of the Bible. And when you get down to the end, they're actually shorter than pretty well any chapter you'd find in the Bible. So, it's just a bad translation, and he probably should have said that, chapters, come on.
Okay.
Anyway, verses are, they're called ayahs. So ayatollah means the sign of Allah, kind of like. So these ayahs are kind of like signs, but that's just the primary meaning. Here, the secondary, tertiary meaning is the verse. So the verses, that's a pretty good translation.
Okay, Quran by Heart is a documentary he recommends.
Well,
it's about a memorization competition.
Oh yeah, there's 10-year-olds and stuff like that.
Okay, you've seen. Okay.
No, I haven't seen
Muhammad?
it. I just remember him yapping. Talking about it.
Muhammad was orphaned at a young age and worked in a caravan trade. He later married his older boss, who was a widow. Her name was Khadija. Is that right?
Khadija, probably better than what most people say, Khadija. But Khadija, yeah.
He regularly retreated to a cave outside Mecca to pray and meditate. Then, when he was 40, he heard a voice commanding him to recite.
He should say around 40, but go ahead.
In the name of your Lord, who created man from clots of blood. Recite, your Lord is the most bountiful one, who by the pen taught men what he did not know. Then he saw an angel who introduced himself as Gabriel and told Muhammad that Muhammad was a messenger of God. He told his wife and said, that's Muhammad telling his wife. Mm-hmm. She said that she thought this was an actual revelation from God. So Muhammad and his forces capture Mecca in 630. He returns to Medina, where he dies 2 years later. From 632 to 661, under first four caliphs, Muslim armies conquered Egypt, Mesopotamia, and Persia. Abu Bakr collected revelations that had come to Muhammad over his life and then memorized by his followers. So this is later on.
Now understand that these guys are the four rightly guided caliphs. Caliph just basically means successor. It means some other things too. Successors to the last of the prophets, Muhammad. And who, when he died, was basically the emperor of Arabia. So you'll notice all those places that were conquered. Can you recite them again? They're rightly guided.
Egypt, Mesopotamia, Persia.
Holy smokes! Those countries didn't attack Saudi Arabia. They were attacked by, what's now Saudi Arabia, by the Arabs. This is not a defensive war or defensive wars. I just want to point that out. Okay.
Under the third,
rightly guided caliphs.
Under the third caliph, Uthman, these revelations were put into the standard form of 114 surahs of the current Quran, and divergent copies were destroyed. The fourth caliph, Ali, Muhammad's son-in-law, was assassinated. The majority of the Muslims followed the Umayyad clan, who expanded to North Africa and Spain. These were Sunni. Shias believed that leadership should stay within Muhammad's family line. 85% are Sunni today, 15% are Shia. Shia are a majority in Iran and Iraq. All Muslims hold to the 5 pillars. 1, confessions of the faith. There's no God but Allah. Muhammad is his prophet. 2, pray 5 times a day facing Mecca. 3, fast during daylight hours for the month of Ramadan. 4, charitable giving to the poor and needy. 5, pilgrimage to Mecca once in a lifetime or more. Muslims believe that the Quran came by direct revelation. Muhammad would begin to sweat even on cold days when he recited a vision. It was apparently uncomfortable physical process. Quran is seen as complete and final message of God. Muhammad was thought to be illiterate and unaccustomed to books. The Quran has to be in Arabic. The book is only an aid to recitation. The sounds of the Quran is what's sacred. So, I think I've probably run out of time.